Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're cracking the code on a huge government policy that's aiming to completely reshape India's place in the tech world. We're talking about the Electronics Component Manufacturing Scheme, or ECMS for short.
And we're going straight to the source for this one. We'll be using the official government guidelines to break it all down. First, we'll look at the big picture goal. Then we'll dive into the scheme itself, see who's eligible to apply, understand the money on the table, and finally, walk through the actual application playbook.
Right, so let's kick things off by understanding the why. Why this scheme, and why right now? What's the grand strategy here?
Well, for a long time, India has been a massive consumer of electronics, but not a major producer. The government is now trying to flip that script. This is a really strategic move to build a powerful, self-reliant tech ecosystem from the ground up, getting companies to make those crucial electronic parts right here at home.
And that brings us right to the heart of our explainer today. Let's talk about the main tool being used to turn that big manufacturing dream into a reality, the ECMS itself.
And here it is. Everything we're talking about today comes directly from this document, the official guidelines. Think of this as the rulebook, the blueprint that lays out every single detail of how this program is going to work.
So what is the ECMS, really? Well, putting it simply, it's a massive financial incentive program. The government is literally offering cash rewards to companies that decide to manufacture electronic components in India, whether they're starting fresh or just expanding their current operations.
Now, this isn't some short-term fix. The scheme is designed for the long haul, running for a full 6 years, all the way to 2032. And what's really smart here is this optional 1-year gestation period. It basically gives companies a whole year to get their factories built and running before the clock on those incentives even starts ticking.
Okay, with a big government program like this, the million-dollar question is always the same. Who actually gets a piece of the pie? Let's break down exactly who can apply for these benefits.
The eligibility criteria are actually pretty straightforward. You have to be a legally registered entity in India, a proper company or an LLP. The most important part, though, is that your investment has to be in very specific product areas. And it doesn't matter if you're building a factory from scratch, a greenfield project, or expanding one you already own, a brownfield project. Both are good to go.
And when I say specific, I mean it. The government has a very clear shopping list here, broken down into 4 main categories. We're talking everything from the really complex stuff like display and camera modules, all the way down to the fundamental building blocks like circuit boards and battery cells. They're even incentivizing the machinery needed to make all this stuff.
But here's the catch. There's a pretty high bar to clear. To even get in the door, your company has to prove it's already operating at a significant scale. For some of the most advanced components, your group needs to have a manufacturing revenue of up to 1,500 crore rupees. This tells you the government is targeting established, heavy-hitter companies that have the resources to hit the ground running and make a big impact fast.
All right, this is the part you've been waiting for. This is the crucial point for any business owner or investor watching. You meet the criteria, you're making the right stuff, so what's in it for you? Let's talk money.
The way they've set up the rewards is pretty clever. There are 2 main flavors of incentives. First, you've got your turnover-linked incentive. The logic is simple. The more you sell, the more money you get back from the government. Then there's the CapEx incentive, which is basically a rebate on what you spend on new factories and equipment. This one's mainly for the companies building out the supply chain.
And the total amount of money the government has put on the table here is, well, it's staggering. Over 22,800 crore rupees. This is not just some token program. It's a massive financial commitment that shows just how serious India is about building this industry.
So where's all that cash going? The lion's share, over 21,000 crore, is targeted directly at the companies making the components themselves. A smaller but still really important chunk is set aside to build out the industry's backbone, the supply chain, and all the capital equipment.
And this is where it gets really smart. The scheme isn't just about final assembly. It's designed to create a deep local supply chain. They're actually offering bonus incentives. For example, check this out from the guidelines. If you're making Li-ion cells and you also source or make the key ingredient, the cathode material, right here in India, you get an extra 2% on top of your other incentives.
Okay, so you're eligible, you're excited, you see the potential. What's next? Let's walk through the practical side of things, the application playbook.
The whole journey is broken down into 4 clear steps. It all kicks off with an online application. From there, it goes to a project management agency for review. Their recommendation then moves up to a governing council, and finally, the ministry itself gives the final green light.
Now, you do have to be prepared to put some skin in the game. There's a non-refundable application fee
that can range from 2 to 5 lakh rupees, depending on how complex your product is. But you should think of this less as a fee and more as a filter to make sure only the most serious applicants are in the race.
All right, let's talk about the fine print, because there are some key rules you have to know. The application window opens May 1st, 2025. But here's the most critical point, the one thing you can't forget. Incentives are handed out on a first-come, first-served basis. If you're slow, you could miss out entirely. You also can't double-dip with other government schemes, and you've got to do the manufacturing yourself. No contractors allowed.
When you step back and look at the whole picture, the ECMS is, without a doubt, one of the boldest industrial policies India has ever launched. The sheer size of the fund and the clear, detailed plan show that the intent is absolutely there. But with that massive fund being paid out on a first-come, first-served basis, the race is officially on. The success of this grand vision now really depends on who is fast enough and strategic enough to seize this opportunity. Thanks for joining The Explainer.